over there. Given COVID, I'm going to try to stay right here. So bear with me in a lot of ways. It can, but I'm not that talented. So I loved the questions you came up with earlier. Let me give you a little context into the Gospel of John. John was written about 140 years after the life of Jesus. If you look through John, you will notice that the statements aren't necessarily just factual information like the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. It is more about theological storytelling. And if you think about theological storytelling, we are trying to make some claims about who Jesus is. Enter today's story and all of its loveliness. I loved the question that you brought up about the people not being his sheep. Jesus, I gotta tell you, was all over the place in this story for me, to the point where I didn't even know where to begin. So as I started looking through the commentaries and searching the webs for information about this, I started to have to piece together what was happening in the story. You see, I read and read most things now like a therapist reads things, or a chaplain reads things. I see the feelings popping out before anything else in the story. And so I'm just imagining, here are these group of Judeans who are anxious as all get out because they have heard stories that they may be following the wrong path. And they see Jesus, who at the time might have been looking like a drunkard, might have been looking like somebody who said it earlier, something about like, I'm thinking of a word. Oh yeah, that's right, a scam. He might have been looking like someone who might be taking advantage of people. However, he's been there in that temple long enough, people know his name. So of course they're anxious. What do you think they might have been feeling? My thought, a little bit ashamed. Here's this person who's making all of these wonderful things happening, and if I believe it, and it's true, what will others think? What will others say about me who's following this supposed fraud? I wanted to start with an unusual place. How many of you have heard of the app TikTok? So the way TikTok works is it's a series of short videos. You scroll through, the longer you stay on the video, the more you interact with the video, the more you see videos like that video, and the trend continues. Now, this is going to be a long story, and it's going to be kind of convoluted, but I promise you I get to a point. So, in 2020, my brain was full because I was a hospital chaplain. I had seen and witnessed people who had dealt with COVID, families who couldn't get in to see loved ones, and my brain was hurting. My partner said, "Hey, look at this cute little video," and sent me my very first TikTok. I can't even tell you what it was. I just remember it was funny. And so I downloaded the app. And nothing will slow down your brain and suck you into distraction like TikTok. It is a time waste. I think the first time I got on, I may have spent 2.5 hours on TikTok. However, it was right around the same time George Floyd was being murdered. And our nation was fractured. And my friend, who was a black woman, started sending me TikToks. And suddenly my TikTok changed from happy, funny, cute dancing videos to political videos. videos of black women telling stories of their pain, videos of black men telling stories of their pain. And as I listened, I felt that familiar feeling, that hotness in my face, that fear that I might have been on the wrong path, that shame that overwhelms me. You see, I understood for a long time that racism exists, that sexism exists, that heteronormative worlds exist, but I never stopped to listen to the people actually suffering. In today's story, Jesus is telling these people, you're not paying attention to me. You're not listening. You're not following along. And I can only imagine they felt like me, who was not listening to the black community, but just making assumptions of what we should do next. If you know me and you know me well, I can get pretty fired up pretty quick about most issues related to social justice. I will be halfway down the road before I realize I haven't listened to a person. I just want justice. Shame bubbling up. May 4th this year, document leaks from the Supreme Court. My first instinct, anger. Want to do something about this, want to say something about this. Thankfully, I did nothing. And I started reading. I started listening. I started paying attention to what was happening around me. That shame had finally been conquered a little bit of what I had been dealing with. I think Jesus was saying the same thing to people. His thing about the sheep really confused me. I'm not going to lie, that's why I got so excited whenever it was brought up. I was like, yeah, that confused the heck out of me too. Until I started to realize that what he was saying was his sheep were the people who were listening and trusting and believing and working through their feelings of shame and guilt to be there with him, to understand him, setting aside their own anxieties, to understand that God's love message is way bigger than we could have ever imagined. And if we let the creativity and the love of God just flow through us, then wow, what a world we may live in. In 2019, I discovered a book by somebody who I've come to have a love-hate relationship with. Her name is Brené Brown. Perhaps some of you might know her. Being from Louisiana and hearing her Texan voice is just like nails on a chalkboard. But her message about shame is so powerful. I want to read to you this quote. We desperately don't want to experience shame, and we're not willing to talk about it. Yet, the only way to resolve shame is to talk about it. Maybe we're afraid of the topics like love and shame. Most of us like certainty and clarity. Shame and love are grounded in vulnerability and tenderness. Now, here's where my therapist takes in. There are those Judeans, running up to Jesus, anxious as all get out. Vulnerability and tenderness were not the intent. They wanted concrete. They wanted to know. They didn't want to feel shamed about maybe getting it wrong. They wanted to know without a doubt, Jesus, are you the Messiah? Because if we follow you, the consequence is big. And I think that perhaps Jesus understood. That Jesus could see the feelings coming in like the colors of the rainbow, flowing over, recognizing, maybe divinely so, what he was experiencing. Here is a whole lot of history that he's calling into question. Here is a religion that he is asking questions of. Here is a law that doesn't make sense. Here is a miracle that I provided, and it's not a trick. It's not some kind of cunning way for you to follow me. It is not about my ego. It is about loving, being kind, being patient, and all of the messages that the gospel brings us. Jesus saw those feelings happening and loved the people anyways. I don't know about you. I don't know what your life experience has been, but it can be really hard when people are questioning you, when people see you in ways that you don't want to be seen. But God loves us and sees us and invites us to come along. I think Jesus was saying, the people that aren't listening are not my sheep. I can't get through to you. Maybe somebody else can. Not me. Not today. But someone can. And I will love you anyways. I think the people that were coming along with him loved him, and he loved them. He would fight for them to his death. Today, the good news is that there is a God who knows us intimately, sees our shame, our pain, our vulnerability, our ugliness, our sloppiness, our loveliness, and loves the hell out of us. And that's the good news that Jesus is bringing today. Yes, we are all his sheep because we are listening, being attentive, and even if we weren't, we would still be loved in spite and in light of ourselves.